It looks like Lenok has denied the win condition. He can easily get on the sacred site and complete the decap. BC will not be able to win like this. It's a good old Mongolian Heights. And I think the Civ choices are more exciting to me as well. I mean, like, obviously there's other games we're going to spin around back towards because there's so many good ones going on at the moment in the ladders. But Chinese versus the HRE. With these two players playing those Civs, I could not. I had to. Especially considering the map as well. Like, in some ways, this is your comfort pick in an off-meta combat round of Golden League that didn't happen, right? You've got Lenok on the Chinese. Probably one of the original, no, I'd say the original Chinese connoisseur. Like, this guy, when he came across the game, he instantly gravitated towards this Civ. He played it non-stop. He became a nuisance for forcing constant late-game scenarios, no matter who he went up against. If he lost by 10 minutes, or he was deep into the 40, 50-minute mark, making people uncomfortable. Then there's Beastie, the purveyor of the Love Hotel. The man who made the village printer, the term we use to describe Pastor Swabi, the guy who was seen as having possibly the most dominant, if not top 3 most dominant HRE performances in recent tournaments, sitting on the other side of this river. We had to get into it. We had to see this one. There's no doubt about it. So the cool thing as well is these Civs have a lot of teeter-totter in terms of the power spikes, right? So the Chinese can be quite aggressive in the feudal age, especially if they go for the Zhugnu via the double feudal landmark to get Song Dynasty. On the other side, actually their opponent can be very aggressive too. So something we haven't really seen too much out of the HRE so far, a lot of people are still doing the standardized kind of castle and eco boom builds. You can actually go for feudal aggression as a Civ. There's a lot of merit behind it, considering that they get 40% increased gathering rates at the stage in the game at the price of sacrificing 1 villager production. And then also with things like the Minework Palace, it's now affordable to go for more aggression off the back of technological superiority, right? Because the Minework Palace, it's a blacksmith, you put it as a landmark for the HRE, and it makes your researchers cost 30% less, and you research them 30% faster. Allows you to hit a pretty potent power spike around, say, the 10, 11 minute mark if you build it right. Once we move past feudal, then things are less balanced because, you know, in feudal, the Chinese, they do have some merits in their own. We said the Zhugnu, there's also the supervised that allows them to push a counter very quickly with limited buildings. Let's talk about castle, though. Castle's where things get really interesting because the HRE still has that potent eco, and they begin to get access to a few things. The Langstedt can come into the fold. They also get their hands on some pretty frisky archers with the marching drills definitely being researched by this point. They'd have some benefits there. And also, if they go into the Regnix Cathedral, they're going to have an eco booster. In fact, either landmark they go, their class stage timing can be quite aggressive. This is also where you start to talk about things like the prelate combat buffs, because something that did get buffed in the last patch is that while you've always been able to hold the Inspire onto military units, it only lasted 30 seconds before. It wasn't very efficient. Since the patch, they doubled that to 60 seconds, and it's a 15% damage increase, meaning if you use it on Siege, that adds a substantial amount of damage to your back line. Lenok, on the other hand, playing the Chinese in the Castle Age, you do have a slight edge now that wasn't there about a week ago. Since Mangonel's got nerfed, this is the only Civ that has great saturation Siege, right? With the Nest of Bees not being nerfed specifically. But outside that, it's been feeling a bit flimsy for the Chinese. I feel like, considering Yuan Dynasty doesn't get picked up that often, you haven't really got the edge of Fire Lancers making a comeback. Your Man-at-Arms variety Palace Guard, while being faster, aren't juiced up to heavy cavalry speed because you usually don't get that Yuan Dynasty. I do feel like this is the Civ that takes over the Imperial. If both of these Civs match Imperial timings, there should be a clear edge building for the Chinese. Although you'll be able to boom economically as the HRE via the Palace of Swabia, functioning as free TCs with a 66% discount, once you unlock Imperials, the Chinese, gunpowder, baby. Everything comes online, from the Nest of Bees being cheaper to the Bombards firing faster. At that stage in the game, the HRE starts to lose the unique military value in exchange for bigger economical bang, right? And I think that's the difference to keep in mind. If we do go for a hyper late game situation, the Chinese should feel more comfortable. But it's hard to make that statement without talking about the variables of how you get there, right? Which is why I'm not even going to begin to give a clear and emphatic lead to one or the other. Because you could say the Chinese, on paper, have a late game advantage, but what matters is what's happening now. Because we're still in Dark Age. and only one of them went on the waterfront. And it was BC. It wasn't even Lenok. Wow, Lenok with the spear plate and now the secondary wall. He gets it up. No, wait. It is up. Uh-oh. This is rough. Lenok made a hard investment here. The spear play for the Chinese, it's definitely been making a little bit of an emergence on the leaderboards. Not just in our Bronze Barbarian series, but even in the highest level. We've seen some players whipping out the spearmen early and then rushing forward to build outposts because you construct them quicker than other civs. But in this situation, Lenok unable to do that. He will go for the Barbkin, though, on the front line. And it means he'll be able to get control of the waterfront because he's going to force BC away from his dock. Okay. Now it starts to make sense. Now, the reason this was very shocking to me at first is that Lenok, he didn't go instantly onto the dock, despite the fact that the Chinese have a quicker build speed on docks by 20% compared to other civs. The reason behind this, by the way, the reason that he didn't go for it is because although you can build 20% quicker, economically you're going to be behind your opponent. Now, Imperial officials will give you 20% supervised bonus, so you're getting 20% additional drop-off in resources, yes. But you have to build them, and there are 150 resources initially. Also, you're gold capped at the start, so you might not be able to get enough out to cover your wood line and food line quick enough. And then on top of that, keep in mind that you're up against the HRE. The HRE that get a 40% buff to their eco. It makes sense when you actually put those numbers together why Lenok didn't go instantly onto the docks. And actually, because he done it this way, look at the end result. He baits Beastie into a hard fishing investment. A fishing investment that hasn't actually necessarily paid off yet. He's getting his tech up now. He's starting to reach the critical mass required to return the investment. But they're harassed. They're being targeted out. And once this outpost goes down, which it will because there's no units to garrison inside it, there's nowhere for them to go. Because the dock isn't even going to be easy to be protected. The fishing boats are slowly dying. Not too quickly, mind you, even with the scout inside. Remember that you don't get the bonus damage against fishing boats. You will, however, get it against the galleys. Some people right now are like, wait, what? You don't get bonus damage against fishing boats with outposts in town? Yeah, I know, right? We went through this just yesterday. We'd totally forgotten. But no, these fishing boats, they're only taking the raw 25 damage from the hand cannon. No bonus damage on top of that. The bigger damage can be done once the galley, or once the galley comes out, right? Because this is where you can start to get pressured if you're out of position. However, with this positioning, he's going to stop the spearmen in their tracks. Not able to get it low enough to burn it down. The good news for Lenok is that this galley shouldn't be able to shift upriver. I say that, he's trying for it now. Looks like he's going to wiggle his way past. Such a tanky, chunky unit, 550 health. However, his own walls are working against him. That moment where you just don't want to delete the walls, you're like, nah. So a few spearmen are still stuck on their side. Without the galley being this heavily injured, it's unlikely BC is going to chase in and stop them from burning down the walls. This opens up options for Lenok. And notice the option that's been taken by Lenok so far is the Eco Boom. He goes back from the Imperial Academy. He's now going for the secondary TC. This is going to put him at 2.7 town centers effective, compared to the 1 for BC. And while BC does have 40% better gathering rates on most of the villages here, as practically all of them are underneath the Arc and Chakable, realistically, what he wants right now is castle as quickly as possible. He doesn't want to hang around. He doesn't want to get a military force. He is going to drop the stable, but this is the prep for 1 or 2 knights in the midfield. Knights that might be a little bit risky considering your opponent has already shown spears. The spears are back at it again. The dock never got repaired, actually. So soon, you're not going to have a drop-off point, and that's a substantial amount of fishing boats that aren't going to be gathering for you anymore. And yeah, you can see he's just producing more fishing boats. He thought he could get away with it. Even if the galley snipes out the spears, it's too little too late. In fact, as long as he keeps 2 of the spears here, you can't come out to repair it. I really like the way Lenok's played this. Like, it's so unorthodox as well. BC done a remarkable job of adjusting, understanding that he can't be too greedy. So if these civs were played on face value, BC wouldn't have walled at all. But I think he understood that Lenok, with the dynamics at play here between the 2 civs, although we talked about who's stronger in Castle and Imperial and Feudal, as we highlighted at the end of that kind of tandem, it's down to what happened beforehand. How did you reach it? And he identifies that the HRE, left to their own devices, are going to crack Castle Age and Imperial quicker than the Chinese. So what does he do? He gets aggressive. BC understands that this level of play, a player is going to be reacting to the game state instead of just focusing on his own eco. And preemptively gets these walls up, which stunted so much of what came afterwards. That being said, even with those details in mind, Lino did do a good job of getting the aggression. Shame he could not get down the dock, though. Because it does mean the PC is inflating his economy still. You have to remember that although you're on 2.7 TCs effective, this dock is like a town center as well. It's pushed out 11 villages. Although these fishing boats, rather, they're more effective than villages, right? Because their carry capacity and the gathering speed is pretty damn good. And that is what enables him to boom right up. Regnitz Cathedral accessed and more economical benefits on their way in the coming minutes. Now, the concern that I do have is Lenok has just forgotten military now. This means he will be forfeiting the relics. I think this is actually because he scouted the north side. And yeah, we can see he did. So this is why he's actually choosing to just focus on his own economy. Like, it's unfortunate, but when the map seed gods do this to you, there's really no point playing for it. Even if you rush Spearman over here, you're rushing past your opponent's base. It's going to displace you heavily. So Lenok understands that even if he does delay the relic pickup by a minute or two, the price of admission to this area is too high for it to pay off. And now our Storm Clock Tower boosting up. Beastie, did I just see a transport? There's a transport ship being built. What? Why? Oh no. I see it now. Lenok got the beautiful tree line. Look at this. It's a natural defense. So he can't make ground like this. The only way he's going to be able to get in quickly is if he transports ships up over here, which is what he wants to do. Oh, baby, baby. This could also be the play for prelate efficiency, like returning relics. But realistically, like, I could actually see this being about moving the transport ship to the north, just so you can quickly just drop into your opponent's base. Because if you look at what Lenok's done, he's been very greedy with his land cap here. The Barbican Sun gave him an established strong point, and from there, he's built up these walls around this area to give himself this giant chunk of his side of the map, even with pressure coming in. And you're seeing as he walls in layer after layer, this is going to prevent raids on land. Should BC roll this up, which he's now doing with the Knights, he is going to flood into your eco lines. And there is no way in hell you would ever be able to snipe the transport ship quick enough. Oh, BC, this is so clever. The brainy beastie here. Knights are going to engage on the spears. Harlan Spearmen are not going to be able to hold them back. The villagers are now in a wee little bit of a pickle. No textiles here. The only good news is that Beastie, he went a little bit too greedy here with this play. He didn't get the bloomery. No! Come on, get it! It's a big deal, folks. It's actually a big deal. Because unless he does a lance strike in, he's not two hitting villagers. If he had the bloomery, he'd do 25 damage per strike, meaning he'd be able to kill villagers in 2 hits. Instead, it's taking him 1.5 times longer because he puts them down to 2 health. And you can see that effect right there. So a missed opportunity, because if he actually had bloomery, he could have parked those knights in there. They would have eviscerated that wood line. You know what? It's not going to slow down Beastie. Because his timings, they are on point. The Love Hotel is almost complete. And then we are in the middle of a baby boom in the German Empire here. And that means he'll be able to fully catch up to Lenok. Not only that, but he'll be better off for it in the coming minutes, because while Lenok keeps the lead for the moment, once that lead has closed, the price to close that lead is so much lower, right? So you're paying 50 food per villager. Now, he's only paying 50 food once. The rest of these are only 17 food. And looks like greedy boy Beastie wants even more. This might be a Type Barnes play. It's 500 gold, but it pays for itself fairly fast now. If you realistically think about this, like, so you get 30 food, 30 wood, and 20 stone. That one's wrong, by the way. So you get 80 per relic a minute. So if you do the maths on that, after about 6 minutes, 1 relic has paid for Type Barnes. He's going to have more than one relic. It's kind of crazy it took this long for people to get Tithe Barns, but in fairness, it was bugged before. The stone, at least, wasn't giving the correct quantity. I think other ones weren't either. This is still incorrect, though. Like, it says it gives 30 stone. I'll check it on it in a second. You'll see the problem with it. For now, we need to focus on these raids that are starting to come in as Beastie. He's trying to get access on the other side now. Spearmen have been upgraded, so Lenok is starting to get a little bit of wiggle room here, but he's got to wiggle himself out of his base soon. He can't just stay behind here forever. I think the plan now for Lenok, he needs to catch up in Imperial and push out. The issue is the investment of Imperial with just 2 TCE Song. I feel like your economy isn't strong enough to allow you to quick Imperial while building a military force. So the worry that I do have is that by the time you choose to go Imperial, BC might be pop capped. So the beneficial move you could make is to flank to the north and actually raid into his eco lines now while it's exposed. It's not about the cost of the villages or depleting them entirely. It's about essentially cutting BC off from critical mass because his numbers are inflating. And in fairness, you do have a clear route in. And yeah, with a few spearmen, it'll take a little bit of time, but not too long to burn down the palisades. Okay, so here we go. Tithe Barns. This is what we're talking about right here. Works on the Regnitz Cathedral as well, by the way. So right now, he's getting 90 food, 90 wood, and 60 stone per minute from free relics being banked. Tithe Barns pays for itself pretty quickly, folks. And I love this play as well. This is another smart move. BC gets the defense down the center and then drops the relic in the keep. Remember, when it's in the keep, you are still getting the 100 gold per minute. But on top of that, you now have a juiced up defense. Notice what it's done here. Armor's been increased by 50%, damage increased by 35%, sight range up by 25%, and weapon range by 20%. You can see it in the stats. Almost 10 tower range on the arrow fire from this structure. And on top of that, 75 range resistance, meaning Trebs take a hell of a lot longer to blow up this castle. Now, walls in the north, not quick enough. Now, this is important. Lenok, actually a really clutch move getting in just in time. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Oh, no, you didn't, Lee. Did he get this? He might have just tapped it. It looks like the foundation's there. So, Lenok can't make his way in. He needs to maybe go for a dock. You could go for siege, but a dock would be an easy way to go. For now, though, he's going to focus on Spirit Way. Impen up. Not the best location if you want to maximize production around it. But we'll have to see if he even cares about Dynasty units. Like, this might just be a fallback plan later on if he wants to go into Grenadiers. I think for now, a more healthy composition is probably frontline Palace Guard with Nesta Bees backing you up. It looks like he is actually prepping for hand cannoneers in the mixer as well. Yeah, straight into him. This is pretty cool, actually. We saw Viper do something similar yesterday with the game against Casva, where he pushed a front line of Palace Guard backed up by hand cannoneers. And the only difference there was there wasn't as many Nesta Bees. However, Nesta Bees are a solid solution. Like Beastie, what do you want to do as the HRE? You want to push man-at-arms, spears, and Langsneck. Everything that's melee, everything that's clustered. Nesta Bees can exploit that. As long as you have something to hold them back in the choke point, they won't be able to reach you and snipe them out. However, you do need something in the choke point for that to work. Nesta Bees. Oh, the repairs. No, not quick enough. Looks like the Springwood is going to be sacrificed. Locked out Springwood does last a while. As long as he doesn't lose the bombard, this isn't too bad. But he needs to be careful to not allow flood through now. He needs to get troops out as quickly as possible. And this is the move for Beastie, right? He does this on purpose. The moment he sees the tech up, he makes his move. Understanding that Lenok has just spent 3,600 resources. He doesn't have an army at that point. And we can see it represented in the pop cap. 14 military to the 33. Beastie is going to be able to keep flooding through, especially now the Barbican has been taken out. Question is he going to come in from the north side as well? Because he could just flood straight in. Onto the extension TC. Also, wood lines are about to be depleted soon. Lenok doesn't have reserves. This is worst case scenario, actually. If Beastie keeps sneaking in over this area, if he actually attacks the wood, he probably doesn't realize it right now, but that's what Lenok needs vast quantities of. He needs it for the siege. He needs it to push spearmen for cannon fodder, and also, you know, if he chooses to go into archers, which was another part of Viper's composition, that's a heavy burden upon the wood lines again. But now it's just going to be the hand cannoneers. They are starting to emerge. Bombard's wheeling out with the Nesta Bees. He's starting to get the critical mass. Beastie, I don't think Man-at-Arms alone is going to dish it. I do love this little play here. I don't know if this... Is this Prelate here for the buffing? Or is he might just be here because he dropped off the relic. Oh, no, he didn't get it. Okay, so this was the tech I was talking about. Inspired Warriors. It buffs a unit for 60 seconds with 1 additional armor and 15% damage, but he never went for it. So yeah, this is just an AFK Prelate trying to pretend that he already done all his duties for the day. Like, yep, nope. Nothing to see here. I'm blue. The Rax is blue. I'm camouflaged. Goddamn freeloaders. So BC has made the full transition to farms. Linok is pretty much there. Like, I think, yeah, he wants one more granary filled with farms, but he needs to free up the space first. After that, wood is mainly going to be drained in compositions. Right now, actually, really big respect to Linok for not being baited into something that would give additional wood drain. Like, he doesn't have full map control on his side yet, so he wants to actually budget it so he can afford all the siege possible. Meanwhile, Beastie, like, he should realistically always have the available resources, right? Like, outside of siege, he's not pushing anything that requires wood. And in fact, if we look on the quantities, you can see he's only got 28 people working those wood lines right now. Most of his wood is simply going into building up more infrastructure because he wants to be in a situation where if this does turn into a resource trade, after they both blitz their armies, you just instantly hear PopCap tick again because you've got so many buildings producing. Calming moment right now. Calming moments like this are really important because you do need to think about who benefits most from them. Like, who actually needed this chill state? And I do feel like Linok wanted this chill state. BC was forced into it, though. Because these Radiants were not working anymore, like, the initial Radiant was good, but then the critical mass of Defense Force was reached, he just peeled off. He stopped. He fell back to just producing troops, and it's to his detriment, because if you look at the composite that's being built up here, you know, you've got the Bombards, you've got the Culverins, that's great, but outside that, it's just Man-at-Arms. And what you're up against is hand cannoneers. Hand cannoneers that will completely and utterly blitz you. The only upside you do get as the HRE is at least you can gap close a little bit quicker at 1.24 and stick on top of those hand cannoneers. But you should never forget that hand cannoneers are all going to be attacking you when only maybe 30, 40, 50% of your units are able to attack. I feel like I highlight that point a lot, but it really is an important element of combat in Age of Empires 4. That's why a lot of people tend to use Man-at-Arms, Spearman, whatever have you, Palace Guard in this case, as just a tank, right? It's not a DPS dealer. It's just meant to absorb range fire onto it. And ever since the Mangonels got nerfed, it's saw more value as that role because you don't have to worry about getting punished for clumping. Except for when you're up against the Chinese players, like in this game. Which is where BC needs to be a little bit careful. Luckily for him, though, there's been a shift to the north. Linok is out of position right now. Small troops in reserve, though. Bombard's starting to target. Palace Guard do distract a lot of the Man-at-Arms. Might want to pull them back. Linok will wheel them away. Nesta Bees is on a coffee break, though. And look at the move. BC, he understands what he needs. It's not military trades. It's eco trades. Straight in, checking on what's happening here. And what he might discover is that there's a new way in to raid from the west if he goes there. In the meantime, Bombard's chased onto. Villagers being pulled to repair it. Will be there just in time to keep it up and alive. And this is the benefit, by the way, of being on the defensive. Something that is just so underappreciated in these situations. Once again, if your opponent is pushing melee, buildings. These buildings are an amazing defense. You know, there's a reason they talk about urban warfare being such a pain in the ass in real life. It is in this game as well. Because when he floods through these Man-at-Arms, he wants to just be able to spread out and get in. He can't, though. Because if he gets caught in these choke points where you can park your Bombards, which are a ranged unit, same with the hand cannoneers, and if you hold with a small quantity of Palace Guard on each side, he's doing no damage. He has to get through the Palace Guard first. So while you're effectively 100% damage, because his troops are clambering over each other like they're trying to make it into a Black Friday deal sale, there's only like 10%, maybe 20% of them that are actually doing anything. And now Linok, he is going for the juiced up movement speed. So screw what I said about marching drills. You just lost your value. You're at 1.24. Pretty nice, right, for that 10% increase. Yuan Dynasty's 15%, which means the hand cannoneers can run away from the Man-at-Arms. They can't run away from the Horseman. BC with the switch up here. Good timing as well. An Imperial Pass to the front line. Look at the vision now Leonok gets. He sees everything coming. However, can he react to it is the real question mark here. Bombard's starting to build up. In the choke point, push through. BC getting slowed down by the new reinforcements pushing out here. Not enough Horsemen to flood through. And the keep defenses as well. I don't think this attack's going to work for BC. BC, he needs to get rid of the infrastructure. He identifies that. Switches onto it. But with so many bombards left over, I just don't think this is going to be enough. It's going to be a throwaway again. And I feel like Leonok is getting the better trades now. Like, look at the military. He's almost got double the amount of kills to Beastie. And it's because Beastie is still only pushing melee units. Because he feels like he cannot really compare to the Chinese range formation. And in fairness, he is correct. Outside of economical benefits, you don't really beat the Chinese here. Their bombards are not only tankier because they came out of the clock tower having 50% more health, they also have an increased attack speed compared to your own at 4.2. Even if you use Culverins, like, it's a matched attack speed. Difference being is one has a lot more health. And you can say that Culverins do more damage than bombards, but realistically, like, the health is going to matter at this quantity in the trades. Especially considering that Leonok is pushing a lot more bombards. These bombards are a solid solution to other units as well. 170 compared to the Culverins at a mere 85 damage, plus the 17, of course. A rush around. A few Horsemen are going to leak through. No new walling going up on this choke point, weirdly enough, from Leonok. He's worried about the backside, and I don't know why. He needs to get these walls. Yeah, he's identified. He's like, I know we just cut down these trees, but can we organize them in a pretty wall that might keep that out? That was me just role-playing the villager who just got killed. It's only a few, and the spearmen are here to address them. But you can see the panic as he finally realizes it. He needs to gain some ground, and this timing on the move from Leonok is going to be good. The bombard's wheeling out. He discovers what BC's been up to. BC's got a smirk on his face, though. Like, he got his value here. He done this a long time ago. This is actually incredible out of Beastie. He had the foothold, so he took advantage of it. He took away the veins, right? He's had the Sacred Sites as well. Remember, the Sacred Site victory condition is ticking down. That's also why Leonok's making this move. And now Beastie coming in with a pinch. Does need a front line to support this, though. Villagers rushing out. And the torches, mistakes have been made. Leonok trying to trade out, but he's trading out inefficiently here. Culverin's wrapped around on, but one or two spearmen are not going to cut it. And the villagers, the riot, the peasant rebellion. So many bombards dead. That is what, 6,000 resources down the drain. Leonok about to feel the sting that he's given to Beastie so often. More troops now flooding through. Leonok, he understands that after he's lost those troops like that, after he's pushed his opponent out, he needs to do a lot more, but he can't. Look at the secondary attack from Beastie. He finally made his move into the north. And now Leonok, everything he's done has been counterfeited because he's fully displaced. His only move is to go in, but when he goes in, look what is standing and waiting. BC, he split up for this. He put a small contingent flanking to the east, and then he has a defense force ready to hold his opponent back at his own base. And remember, even if he loses this initial fight, he has the reproduction rates in his own base right next to the front line. But he needs to sort his income quickly to keep up with the demand here. Spread out the man-at-arms. Spears on MAA. It is going to favor Beastie Cutie. But the hand cannoneers are the difference maker here. Not optimal in their damage spread right now as they're taking out one target after the other. And that does mean the man-at-arms get reasonable trades up against the spears, but the bigger trades were found on the other side here. Beastie able to wipe out the Spirit Way, the extension TC, and now moving on to keep flooding in with man-at-arms and spears. We'll be able to find out on the bombard as well. And this, I mean, this has been remarkable from Beastie. We just saw Leonok with his tentacly type plays, reaching in left, right, and center, flailing around, making the Muslim panic. And Beastie is now doing the same thing to him. It's not as many arms reaching in. It's just him reaching left and right with each arm to create the hug. But that embrace is an embrace that Leonok's going to want, because Beastie, he doesn't do normie hugs. He does bear hugs. And Leonok is starting to feel the wind being knocked out of him here. He finally gets rid of the flank attack, but damage was definitely done. Farms were stunted, shut down. And also, ooh, BC, you cheeky git. Leonok already knew about it. He walled this in. He played it safe. He wasn't going to fall privy to this. Could you imagine if BC had got his hands on that relic and wallowed the farming district? I could. BC could. We were all thinking it. We won't get to see it, though. As old man will shuffle back to his own territory. Have to go the long way around, though. In the meantime, BC, before Vanguard did get massacred. Concerning situation right now, actually. BC hasn't got enough food. He's struggling to keep up. Remember that Lenok was sustaining and building his eco, right? When the trades were coming out earlier, we're starting to see the knock-on effect. Anything you do earlier in the game can come back to bite you, and that's exactly what's happened here. Because BC kept running man-at-arms into his opponent's base at 100 food and 20 gold apiece, and losing them for no gains, while Lenok continued to build up this quality solution of hand cannoniers and bombards, it meant that Lenok had wiggle room to do this with his eco. Gold sucks for him, but food is remarkable, and it means he can throw away a lot more troops as frontliners than BC can. BC needs a clear breach in this area of the map, but he can't get in. Let me through, let me through, let me through. There's a 2-for-1 deal. I want a flat screen TV, Black Friday, what? No, 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 okay. Turns out it's not Black Friday. That's still a few months away. You'll finally realize it. But Lenok is such a crafty little cookie about this. He moves back into the choke point, forces him to take the fight again, and the hand cannoniers are the difference maker here. Keeps going up on both sides, but it's this difference. And it's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, BC, he has got one component to build into hand cannoniers, but the food is the issue. He spends so much on his front line, and replacing it each time, he's never able to get a range composite. And it means Lenok is slowly but surely taking better and better trades. Militarily, they're even neck and neck, but that's more due to BC's crafty plays than the way he's fought these one-on-one fights. Hand cannoniers are being ignored for the bombards, but it's just not enough to take him out here. Culverins are going to wheel out. Lenok does need to repair this. We'll get it just in time. BC is in again. Sacred Sight. Oh, the decap! Lenok didn't get the decap! Oh, no, 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 no! Folks, it has been several minutes now. I've been distracted by all the action, but he's had Sacred Sights for several minutes now. We've got to be getting close. Lenok's in trouble. Lenok, he needs more military production right now. This isn't enough. This simply won't do. If there was an option to bribe mercenaries with food, he'd take it right now. Because he just can't produce an army fast enough. Oh, he needs to, though. Because BC's identified the win condition. Second keep being constructed. More troops coming out. Culverins and bombards waiting on the other side of the waterfront. Push in with the bombards. This keep's so chunky, though. 6,500 HP on them. Rush in onto the village force. They peel back for the moment. Distraction on the front line. Peels away from Spearman. Man-at-arms able to clash up against the Palace Guard. Reinforcements are soon to arrive, but BC needs to be faster about this. Needs to get on the bombards fast. Needs to keep that keep alive. Villagers working to stop it from being on fire. Moving in onto the bombards at the back line. Keep is ablaze. Soon to be a pile of rubble. And with the remaining spears here, they'll be able to torch it down. And it looks like Lenok has denied the win condition. He can easily get on the Sacred Site and complete the decap. BC will not be able to win like this. He needs the new plan. One step forward, 2 steps back, as he takes 2 steps back across his side of the river. Siege building up again. Hand Cannoneers still the difference maker for Lenok. Taking those premium trades. Horsemen rushing in at a choke point, not going to work out for him. The walls even get broken by Lenok as he's confident about the flooding. Doesn't want these choke points working against him. Boiling oil upgrade is there. Damage is not, though. As the bombard will start to focus on the keep. He drags it in, but no, the Sacred Site, he never decapped it! Oh my god, no! Lenok! What? He never completed the decap! Oh my Gideon!